It is Coffee with a Capper for the month of January. We're into 2022, so if you're doing contracts or if you're still writing checks, Godspeed. Don't forget it's 2022. We've got Carrie Alex from Alex and Associates here. We're going to talk to her in a little bit. We've got Brad Kelly. Unfortunately, he's back again. He's going to talk about lending and all the things. We love you, Brad, but I was making fun of you this morning, buddy. You've been sponsoring digitally Coffee with a Capper. We are in season 3 of COVID now. Yeah, and it's been NFTs of coffee for everybody from Brad. So eventually, we're gonna catch up to you, and there's gonna be a room full of people looking for their caffeine. Until then, live from his basement. Yes.
Yeah, no, hi everybody. I apologize for my attire and
you look great, Brad.
My
as
location.
Always.
I'm at the end of a COVID quarantine, so I'm technically back home at this point, but I'm supposed to be masked up around everybody. So the basement is kind of the only place I can go that I can avoid a mask until my kids come down and try to bother me.
I do love that you pitched to Erina. Now you have to picture Brad walking out with a 30-pack, his hockey equipment, and his skis. I'm gonna head up to the house up north and leave everybody down here to be safe. And Erina's like, I don't know if that's the play. I get all the kids. You have your hockey equipment, your skis, and a whole bunch of beer. I'm gonna go get better, everybody. Didn't work.
Yeah, no, to be honest with you, this is actually, I make fun of a bunch of the guys I play hockey with because they try to do that January thing where they don't have a beer in January or whatever.
Dry-uary, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually at this point, what is it, the 14th, and I'm, 14 days in, COVID, is helping me lose weight. It's good times.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, no, so it's been a little bit of crazy in my world. It's been a little bit crazy in the lending world too. Those of you that have not been paying attention since the first of the year, the rates are basically climbing daily. And, that's what we're dealing with at this point in time as far as market is concerned. It has a lot to do with inflation and things of that nature catching up with us. And, along with the idea that it's as much as it's kind of a little bit of a nightmare out there with COVID, that the oh my God, everybody is going to have major issues with it isn't coming to fruition. Myself as a prime example, luckily myself and my daughter both came through it very well and seem to be doing well. But, there is also a lot of people out there that are still struggling with it. I've had a recent family member that had some issues with it and things of that nature. So obviously do the best you can to be safe out there, folks, and, make the best choices you can for you and your family. But yeah, no, rates are on the climb. So that's definitely going to have an impact on your buyers, particularly, people that are barely able to qualify for something in this market, so keep that in mind, stay in touch with people, because everything I'm seeing is suggesting that this is something we're going to continue to see, this year as a whole, where they're expecting rates to, move up into the 4s and things of that nature, as a standard for the year. So, get a hold of your buyers that have been doing the I want to wait until the market turns, because I don't know about you, but I don't see. I see values maybe leveling, and this, maybe Carrie might be a better resource for this. But I'm also seeing places come on the market, and I've got buyer after buyer after buyer, as soon as a house comes on the market, sending me that particular property that just came on and saying, hey, can you run numbers for me? So it's still competitive out there. It's still busy. And, on top of that, the market is changing in the way that, people are going to be able to afford less because of rates. So the longer they wait, the less they're going to be able to buy.
So would you, for just a broad overview, and it's going to be different for everybody, but if you were saying, middle of the road, good credit, 15-year note, 30-year note, what are the numbers that you've seen in the last couple of days? Just to give people an idea, because they hear you saying it's on the rise, and they might have had a client last summer that got a phenomenal, three point whatever. So what are we looking at for good credit right now, middle of the road?
If you've got really good credit and you're doing 25% down, because that's kind of where it roughly gets as good as it's going to get. You're
Mm-hmm.
still in the mid 3 range, 3.5 to 3.75 ballpark, depending.
Okay.
And that's no points on a 30. 15-year rates are a little bit lower. They're still hanging around 3. But that's from the low of 2, or maybe even a little bit better than 2 on a 15-year. That's up, a point. And the same thing with the 30-year. They're roughly up a point from where they were at the low. So
Okay.
you definitely see an increase here.
Yeah, so for everybody who's hearing from their buyers, we're going to wait for the spring, or your sellers, we're going to wait for the spring. The opportunity for the buyer and the ability, and Gary talked about this, which I want to say like when COVID started, like it was 20 minutes ago, 3 years ago when COVID started. Gary said, it used to be ready, willing, and able, and we have to move that able word to the front of the conversation. Are they able to purchase? And that window is shrinking for a lot of people because a percentage point is thousands of dollars for people. It's not like, oh, that's going to change the rate. That's going to change my monthly payment a little bit. That could change the monthly payment, by a good chunk of hundreds of dollars, not by $50 or $75. Can make a massive difference for some people. And for so many people that bought over the summer and they've still got that friend who is like still shopping and they want to keep up with the Joneses, they want to be part of that conversation, for them to wait a little bit longer, to Brad's point, it's only the numbers are going to keep climbing. So get them into action.
I don't know what Carrie's opinion is on this, but I know I'm fairly regularly talking to people where they're like, oh, I'm thinking the market's going to come down or it's going to crash. And I'm like, I don't really, see that personally. I think we've talked about this before, but the last big crash with numbers was more of a, as far as values are concerned, was a product of people being able to buy with no money down, and a lot of people buying distressed properties at that time. Like I know personally, I bought a property that was pretty much a gut rehab project. That was the first place my wife and I owned together, and we, it was a project, and a lot of people got in over their heads with, no money to back them up. What I'm seeing personally in this market is there's a lot of buyers out there that are cash heavy, that are, buying houses with 20, 30 more, percent down, or cash buyers out there. And odds are, those folks aren't going to end up in trouble. Like they've got a cushion, they've got money to protect their investment, things of that nature. Yeah, they might have paid a little bit more for a particular property, but the the foreclosure wave, I think, is less likely to happen because there's a lot less people buying that property with no money to back them up and things of that nature.
Okay, appreciate it, Bradley. You gonna hang out with us, or you're gonna go skiing? Oh, I forgot. You're back south. I forgot.
Yeah, no, I'm in the basement. I can go sled in the backyard. No, I'll hang out with you guys, but I'm gonna mute myself and try to just hang out and listen to Carrie's story, because I'm actually fascinated, because I know pieces of it, but I'd like to see Tim like wean like all of it out, so we can get the whole story.
We're gonna get all of it. It's like a Howard Stern interview at the very end when he's just like, well, so thank you for coming by. And then he asks one more question. And the person being interviewed thinks the interview is over and the mic is off and nobody's listening. And they start talking about all the things they refuse to talk about at the top of the interview. I don't know if we're going to go that far. We're certainly not. Anyway, so I got to tell you, though. So with the Ecamm tool, we are simulcasting over to our Facebook page and to our YouTube page, kwtechtube.com, by the way, if you want to view it there. And we can see comments coming in from both of those venues. And somebody commented from Facebook, and they're making fun of your mug, Carrie. So I don't know if it's not fit for television. You've lifted, yeah. Somebody said something about your. What does your mug say? Can we repeat what your mug says?
We might not be able to repeat, but people can read if they'd like.
Okay. Oh.
I gotta tell you. So
somebody was like, nice choice on the mug. Yeah. Well, actually,
this is actually something that has surfaced on Facebook once or twice or 10 times before. Yeah. And on Zoom. My friend Mark Zoller gave me this 3 years ago when I was on his team at.
And you bring it to all of those meetings. Yes. Yeah.
Yes, but it's the perfect size mug, and it holds the heat so well. So I just keep on using it, and I love it, and people comment on it. So sometimes I forget what it says. Sorry.
So we lost our we lost our G rating unless you grab it by the other handle and put the words towards your face, which is nobody's worried. Really, is anybody really? Brad's here. I'm here. We've already insulted everybody before we opened our mouth. So, so that being said. First and foremost, when you and I first meet, when I meet with everybody who gets to the Market Center, I always say to you guys, get me from high school graduation to this conversation. So we have time to do that. You can cliff note it a little bit, and then I want to dive a little bit deeper on your magazine that is still going. That is super cool that people probably have seen for sure. Maybe they've got loved ones that have been in it, and they don't know it's you. I want to talk about you kicking cancer's ass as much as you want to discuss that, because we're all thrilled that that's about that's behind you. And then above and beyond that, you've started a team in the last 18-ish months. Are we 24-ish months?
It'll be 2 years in May.
Okay, I'm not that far off. 18 was close, correct. Okay, perfect. So get me. And the reason I always ask everybody high school graduation is because that's usually a polite way of saying where'd you grow up. So you take it from here. Go ahead.
Oh, I grew up on the Seacoast. I grew up here in the area. Born and raised Lebanon, Maine. Go Maine.
Leb City, kid. Leb City.
Yeah. Everybody picks on my Maine accent.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, can you hear me okay?
We can. I can. Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So I went to Noble, graduated from Noble, and to just show you what kind of an overachiever I am, I graduated in 3 years instead of 4.
What at the high school age, what dorkaliciousness takes place that you're like, I'm going to do this faster? Was it the propensity that like I want to be grown up, I want to move on, or like?
It was more of I hate to say this because I don't know.
You can say it.
I like to say my maturity level. I think at that point, like I was done the BS of like high school drama and nonsense, and I had already had most of my, credits or whatever I needed. And so I went on and just said, hey, I had to petition the school board. Me and actually one other girl did it together. She wanted to get out too. Their strict guidelines were you had to achieve all of your, credits that are required, including your senior classes during your junior year. And you do need to go on to college after. It wasn't, hey, get out and do nothing.
So to be clear, you dislike immaturity, and yet Brad is your lender. I just want to get that. I want to get that in the ledger. That's all. I just want to make sure that's okay.
Well,
okay.
I mean, full disclosure, I married my high school sweetheart. So, I mean, I guess I have some tolerance for immaturity.
Yes. Yeah.
But... Sorry, he's not listening.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. We understand.
So, so I graduated in 3 years. During that time, I again had to take all of my senior classes during my junior year as well, which meant I didn't have time for a whole lot of extracurricular activities. However, I did still do sports. I did softball. I did, believe it or not, I was the head of the cheerleaders.
Yep. So was Brad. Keep going.
Yes. And so, I actually got the highest GPA at that time, my junior year, among all seniors in English.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but now I've lost a lot of that because sometimes I speak in the slang world. So, moving on.
In the Leb City vernacular? Yes. Yep.
Yes, exactly. Went from high school right on to Hesser College. Yep. Back way in the day, over 20-something years ago. Do they still exist? I don't even know.
Hesser? You say that, and I'm thinking Maine, and I want to say Husson, but I know you don't mean Husson.
No, it was
Hesser. I feel like I've seen a Hesser logo here or there. Yeah, I feel like they're still with us.
Newington, behind the Newington Market Basket, down in that area. But so I bounced around. Actually, I had taken classes there. I'd taken classes at Macintosh College in Dover at the time. I went to Stratum Tech. I actually didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up.
Brad's here with details.
Not to interrupt you, it is now referred to as Mount Washington College.
Yeah, somebody in the notes just said Hesser is long gone. Yep.
Okay.
2013, Hesser became Mount Washington College.
They said to themselves, well, Alex is gone now. We've graduated our smartest kid. We're just going to shut it down. Yeah. We're going to rebrand the whole thing now. Yep.
That's right. That's right. I went on to college not knowing what I wanted to be when I grew up. I actually was working in the retail field when I was in high school, and as I got out of high school, I worked in retail clothing. Thought I wanted to be a fashion merchandiser. I loved to do.
Was it merry-go-round? Like, what was the store? Help me.
No, it was.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. That's where I shopped. No, I didn't. Wait a minute.
Yep,
no, I didn't.
I remember.
No.
With the Z Cavaricis.
Yes. Yeah. No one's going to remember the store. Maybe you will, Carrie.
Yes, I was going to say that.
Z Cavaricis. There was a store.
I had some Z Cavaricis. Those things are great.
Of course you did. So
My husband did too.
Yeah, can you see Brad in his pleated Z Cavaricis with the turtleneck, the sweater, and the chain outside the turtleneck? Yes. With the mullet going to hockey practice. Anyway.
Z Cavaricis were part of the dress code. They were dress code legal at St. Thomas when I was in high school. So
of course they were. Of course they were. So I grew up in Chelmsford. Right over the border in Chelmsford is the Pheasant Lane Mall. In the Pheasant Lane Mall was a store called, and I'm going to make a horrible reference, but you'll understand what I mean when I say it. It was called Oak Tree. The store was called Oak Tree. I remember that. It was very, and it's sort of funny because we were joking this morning on the Quick Start about
Cherry Tree.
No.
Cherry Tree was in the Newington Mall.
So it was called Oak Tree, and it was all, just picture the parachute pants, and for lack of a better term, the, I'll say collage sweaters, because I don't want to say that comedian that's gone to jail now. Yeah, the collage sweaters. He used to have a show on NBC. Yes. Those kind of that was the Jamity Jam. So you were not at merry-go-round. That breaks my heart. I was hoping you would say that you were, but that's all right.
No.
Anyway, so retail, you're in retail now.
Yeah, yep. So I was in retail, and I'm very much a person who loves and enjoys being around friends and family. And realized as I was going through my college experience that I was just taking the gen eds to begin with. And as I spoke to the admin there, they were like, you can do fashion merchandising, but in order to do anything significant with it, you're going to have to progress to some bigger cities and move to like Boston or, somewhere, Miami, whatever. And that's when I realized that wasn't for me. Mm-hmm. The big cities aren't for me. Even today, like somebody might laugh, but like Portland and Portsmouth are big cities to me. And, and those are the biggest cities that I go to. I do not like going to Boston. I don't like going to big places because I'm a small town gal, know? Yep. But I do have big city heart. So I said, nope, I'm not going to continue school for that. And I actually never got a degree. And some people are kind of shocked when I tell them that. I probably have enough classes under my belt for my master's, but never actually got a degree in anything because I continued to try to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do. Fast forward a little bit, moved in, right at 17 out of high school with my high school sweetheart, now my husband. And I had full-time school, worked a full-time job in banking, actually. I was a bank teller. At the time, it was Portsmouth Savings Bank. Yep. Then I also worked part-time down in the Kittery Outlets, again, in a retail store. So, and we lived in an old Victorian in downtown Dover. So I lived in Dover for 10 years, right, after high school. Mm-hmm. Didn't know what I wanted to do at that point. But at the age of 23, we got pregnant and decided that, renting's not our thing, but we, because my husband's older than me. He was a senior when I was a freshman. So he had actually been out of school longer, already had his apartment, yada, yada. So he had an apartment for about 10 years. We decided to buy a home, which is still the home that we have today.
I love that you yada, yada, that he was 4 years older than you and already had an apartment for your parents. Yeah. Yada, yada. Yeah.
Yada, yada. Yeah.
He already had a place. I had never been there before we got married, but I heard it was lovely. Yeah. Yada, yada.
Yada, yada. That's small details.
Yeah.
But so we bought our first home, and we live in Rochester, New Hampshire, which is great because it's close to my parents. Still, I see my parents quite often.
That's
still
awesome.
who are in Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
All my friends, all my family, like everybody I know. Again, it's Lebanon, Rochester, all of the Berwicks. This is Dover. It's my area, as I like to say, because these are the areas that I stomping grounds, hung out and went to, you know, all of those sorts of things in my first 25 years of life, you know.
Sure.
Once I had my daughter at 23 and we had our house, we decided, oh, maybe we should get married now. We kind of put how do they say it, the horse before the cart, right? Or the cart before the horse?
Before the horse, but sure,
I don't know.
whatever. Yeah. Say horse before the cart for your parents' sake. Yada, yada. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
And so we decided that we were going to get married at that point. Started pre-planning my wedding. And then our daughter got sick and almost died, actually. At 3 months old, she had a long history of kidney reflux disease and had febrile seizures. And again, all starting at 3 months old. So the fact that we were an unmarried couple, the bills starting added up for health insurance and lack thereof. So we kind of delayed a lot of things and decided to not get married, of course, at that time, but we are still engaged. And fast forward about a year and a half after that, remember I told you I excelled in English, correct?
Yeah.
At one time, at least I did.
Yeah.
There was something on what used to be WERZ, Jeff and Sarah in the morning, 107, where they did a wedding giveaway every year, the white wedding. So I was like, oh, what the heck, why not? Filled out like some 250-word essay, sent it in. Didn't tell Travis I was doing that, actually. I must add that. Just kind of did it. And, you know, it was all about why do you deserve to win a wedding?
What year was this?
God, we got married in 2001.
Oh, all right.
No, 2001? Yeah, 2001, because our daughter was born in 1999. Oh, God, don't tell him I forgot what year we got married. Jeez.
Well, no, because I was at ERZ. I was at ERZ from 98 to 2005.
Get out of town.
So I guarantee I was around. We just,
You probably were.
Yes. Interesting.
You probably were.
Yes, the terrible Billy Joel liner that we ran and all that. Yes, the white wedding. Yes, but anyway.
Isn't that something? Jeff
That's
and
crazy.
Sarah in the morning. So because my daughter was so sick, I was working at that point in time, I decided, hey, computers are the future. I'm going to get into working in computers. So I worked for what was at one point in time Lilly Software in Hampton. And while I was there, my daughter got sick and I missed a lot of time. And they fired me. So I was like, well, I can't go out and find another job right now. I'm dealing with a sick child and not sure what we need to do at that point. I ended up getting a part-time job through a temp agency and was working at Green Pages in Kittery at that point, because again, it was in the computer industry. So you're following me. You remember these companies, because I don't think either one exists anymore, right?
Wow. No.
Yeah. So I was just working there as a temp when I sent in my article or my essay to Z107, and all of a sudden I got a phone call, and they were like, "Is this Carrie?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Well, this is such and such radio station," and I can't remember who it was that actually called me. It was like one of the executives, and they're like, "So you put in an essay to win the wedding?" And I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden my heart starts like fluttering because I'm like, uh-oh. And they're like, well, out of 200, applicants, we want to let you know we've narrowed it down to the top 10 and you're in the top 10. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? And they said, well, we want to ask you a few more questions with regards to your essay. So I'm like, okay. So they asked me about my daughter and how she was doing, because that was pretty much how my essay went. And they said, okay, well, we'll get back to you. So I'm like, okay. Literally hung up the phone, decided I would call Travis and just let him know that there was a potential. So of course I'm on the phone.
There's a probability, yes.
Yeah. I'm on the phone with him. He's at work. And I'm like, hey, the radio does this thing. I just want to let you know I applied for it. And he goes, yeah, well, what are the chances that you're going to win? And I'm like, well, they just called and I'm in the top 10. And he goes, yeah, but still. I'm like, okay, got off the phone. They called me back and said, yeah, we're selecting you.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So I won our wedding. We got married on Valentine's Day and on skis at Attitash with the whole ski patrol.
Yeah.
No. Sorry, Bella wants to put in her 2 cents.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was one of those things that you got 1 week to get married. We've got everything pre-planned for you.
Yeah.
And excuse me, I apologize.
You're okay. That's all right. Everybody has dogs.
Yeah, she's a pain in the butt. I'm going to put her out of my office.
Okay.
Did you know what you were getting into today, Tim?
Yeah.
It's like
Sorry,
No,
guys.
like a
the, the whole reconnection, just the reconnection of the wedding story back to the radio station is just funny because like the only reason I'm sitting here is because when I was over there, Nathan was over there doing sales at HEB. Like that's how we met. That's why I'm here. Like as much as we make fun of our friends across the street at Cheap Channel, you know, it's the only reason that we're all sitting here together right now, quite honestly, which is pretty cool. So, and
That's kind of full circle.
the
Right?
WERZ actually, that stands for We Are Z107.
Oh,
If you never caught that, that's why, yeah.
I did
Yes.
never caught.
We
I never
are
caught that. I don't know who
Z107.
else- That's funny. I don't know who else would have because my family certainly didn't know, but we're from Maine, so who knows?
It's fine. It's fine.
So yeah, so we got married, free wedding, all pre-planned, all prepaid for,
Yep.
all that fun stuff in 2001. So, moving forward, let's see. Oh, so then I started temping at a doctor's office and a collection agency for medical, stuff.
Yep.
Just because I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and I kind of got bounced around because I was working for a temp agency, still had a
Yeah.
sick child. She was sick for the first 4 years of her life, actually. So it was it was tough. So that's why we
Sure.
only had one kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
People
Yeah.
ask me, like, why do you have one? I'm like, that's why.
Yeah.
I eventually got a job working for Great Bay Oral Surgery in Somersworth at their front desk.
Yep.
And I was there for about a good year before I started poking my head into their operatories and trying to see what was going on. And I had a real interest for it. Even though it was all kinds of blood and all of that, it didn't bother me. So I, at one point, had made a connection with a woman at another dentist office, a general dentist office that had frequented our office with their patients for referrals. And she's like, hey, my office is hiring if you want to come over as a dental assistant. We're doing on-the-job training. So I was like, absolutely. So
Right.
I got my start working in Rochester at Associates in Family Dentistry right down on Route 125. And I got on-the-job training, and then I started going to school at NHTI for radiology and dental assisting. And then I did so many other certificate courses after that. I was in cosmetic dental assisting for a little over 15 years.
Wow.
And loved it. And that's how I know a lot of my clientele, a lot of the patients I became friends with.
Sure.
People are afraid of the dentist, and I was their person to soothe them, their friendly face every time they came in.
Yep.
And so every time I'd go to Hannaford, I'd go to Walmart, I'd see those people. So I was their constant face that they always saw, so they felt comfortable with me,
Yeah.
which translates over to where I am today, luckily. So after that, let me see, that was about for 15 years I was doing that. And to be honest with you, I'd probably still be doing that because I absolutely loved doing that and I missed that.
Yeah.
Except for I had injured my back in 2013.
Yep.
And just couldn't do that job anymore because of the way you have to kind of hold yourself and whatnot. 2012, while I was working at that office, I had a woman that I worked with that had started working there soon after, this date in 2012, and she was saying how her daughter was the current Mrs. New Hampshire and that she was about ready to give up her title and that, hey, you should probably go and compete for that.
You're
And
like,
I'm
why not? I'll write an essay. I'll get picked.
Right. I'm like, no, that's silly. Like, I don't do my hair. I don't wear makeup. I don't have nice clothes. I'm like a jeans and t-shirt kind of girl. And, when I'm not wearing scrubs all the time, because
Right.
that was my life. And she's like, oh, you should really consider it. It helps open doors. It really has for my daughter. So I was like, I'll think about it. And that night I came home and I said, I told my husband that. And
Does Travis have a T-shirt that says "I outkicked my coverage"? You should make him wear that every day. Yeah.
I will get that made.
Amen, sister. Yep.
Yes. So basically, I said to him, hey, so-and-so mentioned this thing, and she thinks I should do it. And his response was, with the face, why? Like he was like, that's stupid. Why? Yeah. And anytime somebody talks like that, I don't care if it's my husband, like anybody, I'm going to come back with you at, well, why not?
Yeah. You're like, all right, stupid. Hold my beer. Yeah. Yep.
Hold my beer and my margarita. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
So at that point, I made the decision just because that I was going to do it. So,
can you see you're up on stage getting interviewed, and Carrie, why are you here? To spite my husband. That's right.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
But basically, so I went and competed for Mrs. New Hampshire. There was about 8 of us women, a handful of women who had been doing it in the past that had competed and hadn't won, so they're back again trying for their title and whatnot. And they're all studying their interview questions, and and I was like, why are you studying interview questions? They're basing it off your resume, so it's about you anyway. I don't understand, you know? So I went in. I was my typical self, like I'm Carrie. I'm my hand gestures, my facial expressions, you name it. That's who I am. You know, we did the whole gown, swimsuit interview. Those were the things that you didn't have to do. Hallelujah, you didn't have to do a talent.
Sure.
So, and then when they said that I won, I was like, oh shit, what am I?
Yeah, you're fine.
Sorry, I'm like, what do I do now? They're like, you have to go compete at Mrs. America and represent your state. And I'm like, oh, geez. So that's what I did. 2012, I competed at Mrs. America on stage and on live TV and all that fun stuff. So that was quite an experience. But again, yes, I didn't come in the top 15, but I think I was probably number 16, I tell everybody.
Perfect.
Because they don't say who comes after that. But anyway.
Brad applied to be a judge. He didn't clear the background test. So, yeah, he really wanted to be there.
It was a great opportunity, and and it's something that not everybody can say that they've had the opportunity or experience to do. So soon after that, while I had that opportunity, part of my prize package that I won as Mrs. New Hampshire was a photo shoot to be in New Hampshire Wedding Magazine. I had a whole bunch of other things that happened, but little things, little prizes that I got, but that was one of them. So I had developed a relationship with that publisher at the time because I had done a big photo shoot. I had a whole spread that was put in the magazine for 2013 of, photos of me in wedding gowns and stuff like that. So
you on skis at Attitash, all the things.
No, not on skis at Attitash. No. Hallelujah. Yeah. That was a train wreck.
Where are the photos from the ERZ wedding shoot? They died in the fire. We lost those. Yeah.
Let me just say, my husband's a black diamond skier. I'm a bunny slope skier. That's all I gotta say. Yeah. So,
my wife's a hot cocoa enthusiast from the lodge. That's what she does. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, nowadays that is my calling. Yes. I'm not the skier, I'll snowshoe. Or tube, which, by the way, Brad, thank you. I'm coming on the 23rd.
Tubing on the 23rd, yes.
Hopefully everybody's COVID-free by then. So let me see, where are we at? And then, so I hurt my back in 2013, and it wasn't by anything fun or graceful. It was by me picking up my dog at the groomers and trying to put her in the back of the truck because she was elderly and she couldn't jump up. And then I herniated 3 discs in my lower back. So when I realized I could no longer do the job that I had, I was like, what do I do now? So they moved me to the insurance department, which I was fortunate of at my office, but it just wasn't my cup of tea when people were calling in and yelling at me and saying it was my fault that their insurance didn't cover their service. Yeah, I'm not that person. Yeah. So again, I want people to be happy. So I wasn't going to stay at this office very long and deal with people yelling at me.
And you thought to yourself, what's like pulling teeth? Real estate's like pulling teeth.
Well, I mean, not at that time exactly. That's when I That's when I reached out to the owner of New Hampshire Wedding Magazine and told her, I said, hey, I'm looking at starting my own business as a event planner. And so in January of 2014, I started my own little business, and I was doing platinum event planning, and I orchestrated a lot of different events. I'm really good at organizing and planning and things of that nature. So I had done, my daughter at the time was going to Portsmouth Christian Academy, and so I did some of their proms and a whole bunch of different things, with that. people's sweet 16s, you name it. I did a lot of little functions, but I reached out to her and I said, I think I want to start doing some little intimate bridal shows because I knew a lot of people in the bridal industry. She's like, hey, let's get together and meet. So we had coffee, and that's when she kind of planted the seed and said, I am looking to sell my publication. I've got twin 5-year-olds. I can't do it anymore. And she didn't really come out and ask me if I was interested, but just said, if you know of anybody, with like the little wink, wink on the side.
Yeah.
So I says, okay, that's great, thanks. And I took some magazines and I went on my way to try to continue orchestrating things. But I get up to the car and I call my husband once again. You can only imagine how that phone call went. I says, hey, she's looking at selling the magazine.
And he made the face and said, why?
And he's like, right. Well, I was on the phone, so I'm sure the face was there, but the voice was, definitely negative. And, when I competed at Mrs. America, to recap, I told you I was a jeans and T-shirts girl. When you have a title, you sign a year contract that you have to have you're constantly in hair, you're constantly in makeup, you have to have your nails done, you have to go tanning, like all of that. It was called an appearance contract. To compete at Mrs. America, I was there 9 days and had to have 9 gowns for each day. So plus I had to fly to Arizona and all this stuff. So I literally racked up about $10,000 worth of debt on a credit card from just that experience. So of course my husband says, you really need to pay off that $10,000 debt before you decide that you're going to do anything else.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, at that point, it was March of 2014. I did as many events as possible, and in 6 months, I paid off my $10,000 debt. Wow. In August of 2014, I reached out to the owner and I said, sign me up. Let's get this going. And so I bought New Hampshire Wedding Magazine. And of course, I'd never published a magazine before. Didn't know what I was doing.
Pesky facts. We'll figure it out. It's going to be fine. Hold my beer. We'll figure this out. Yeah.
Gave me a little 101, quick crash course. I put out my first issue in 2015 on my own, and every advertiser said it was the best issue that they had ever seen.
Good for you.
So I decided to go to UNH, and I took 16 weeks worth of desktop publishing classes and kind of wanted to make sure I knew what I was doing from there on out.
Sure.
And then in it was March of 2015, I think it was, my husband said, you did that kind of like you've been doing it for years, so now that you've got the equipment and the knowledge, you should probably do another magazine. So guess what I did? I created Boys New England Pageant and Prom and Fitness magazine. So because when I was competing, I said, there's got to be a resource out there that people can refer to that helps them, like maybe never done. And there wasn't. There was some national magazines, but nothing that was going to give me names of people that were local for buying a dress or getting, so I had all the contacts, I had all the resources, so I did it. And I published that for about 5 years, but then finally said, you know what, I'm done pageants. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to focus my energy and my effort on that. So I no longer do that magazine. I still do New Hampshire Wedding Magazine. A little quick background, though, as to why I got into real estate is, as a child, in my entire life at this point, my stepdad was a broker. He was a broker for me in New Hampshire. He worked at Brookside Realty in Lebanon, Maine for a while. Then he went over to Century 21 and Jorge and Cormier. He had a couple of places that he went, but he was in the industry. So I think for me, I was always the little kid tagging along with dad at showings, going to the office as the office brat, one of those sorts of things. I met a lot of people, and I guess I kind of subconsciously absorbed some information and whatnot. So even today, I run into people that I had met when I was hanging out with my dad at things, and I'm like Janet Davis and the, Horahans and the Corby, all those. I'm like, hey, don't you remember me, my dad? So it's kind of funny, but so I feel like it was kind of in my, I can't say DNA because he's my stepdad, but he raised me since I was 2. So he's always been in my life.
Yep.
So it's just one of those things. And when I decided, I said to my husband, my wedding magazine produces money in the fall, winter months because I get advertisers. Advertisements pay for magazine production and printing.
Sure.
I also orchestrate bridal shows. I haven't for the past now almost 3 years because of COVID.
Yeah.
But, typically I'll put on some bridal shows, which can have upwards of 20 plus different, wedding vendors and bring hundreds of, wedding couples looking to get married. Well, I said, I need something to do during the summer that's going to be an income producing thing. And he was like, well, you love real estate. It's always on HGTV at our house. He's like, why don't you just go for that?
Is it still on HGTV at your house?
Actually, it is right now. The dog, I think, is watching it.
Really?
I swear, it's bad.
Yeah, well, God bless you. All right.
Yeah, between HGTV and sometimes Bravo, because I love those like $1 Million Listing shows. That's me.
Yeah, I've said this a million times. When I get home and Janina is watching, what is it? It's House Hunters International.
Yes.
That makes me want to lay in traffic. Because it's always this couple from like Coscob, Connecticut, right? If you know Coscob, Connecticut, everybody has horses and fences and acres, and they're like, Bradley and Erina love Coscob, Connecticut, but they're looking for the diversity of Venezuela. Like, okay, they're gonna grab their other house, like, in the Ukraine, and I just like, nope. I don't want to watch this. This makes me like, and just, I guess, the mentality of, as a realtor and being in this industry, when I go home and my wife is watching any of that, it's like you just finished your 18-hour shift at McDonald's and you walk in the house and the kids ask for burgers and fries.
Right.
Like, that's where, like, I'm like, no, we're going to be on Dateline if you ask me that one more time. I do not want to discuss any of it. Let's do something else. So, but I love that you love it. I just find it fascinating that you're this involved with real estate and you have it on in the background. Because it's always out in the background.
It always was before I got into real estate, because I was always so interested in it. But now I use it as it's background noise. But again, it's like that subconscious thing, because if I'm home, I'm typically sitting on my couch with the TV on, with my laptop on my lap. I'm working, but it's kind of that noise in the background for me. I'm not typically watching it. I'm listening kind of, but I like the shows like the Bravo shows, like I said, like the $1 Million Listing, New York $1 Million Listing. Yeah. I feel like they're motivational, and I read a lot of books. I have a lot of motivational books that I read. I watch, my seminars, all kinds of things of that nature. I always have. So sometimes when I'm starting to get a little bit like I'm starting to lose my spark, then something like that comes on, and I'm like, yeah, gonna do it.
Yeah, you see Ryan Serhant selling a $19 million condo. You're like, I should make some calls. Yeah. I should definitely make some calls.
The funny thing is I feel like there's a lot of people disagree with me, but everybody has their right to their own opinion. Sure. I am the type of person that believes in the power of the universe and the power of positive thinking. And I had said on numerous occasions out loud, I should move to New York for 1 year and see if I can get involved with some of these New York big brokerages and like build up a clientele so I can make some money, because I have a goal, and I keep poking at Adam Dow saying, find me a listing on Winnipesaukee for under $500,000 right now that I can afford, because I want a house on Winnipesaukee. Like, that's my happy place. My boat's there now. Yeah. I want a little cottage. It doesn't have to be a mansion. It can be a shed, for crying out loud.
Yeah, your boat lives on Winnipesaukee. You don't yet. Yeah.
Exactly.
Baby steps.
Exactly.
Baby steps.
So I said numerous times, I'm going to move to New York and do that. And my husband's like, yeah, sure, go for it. One of those sorts of things. Well, all of a sudden I got a New York buyer. This came from COVID. I got somebody that was interested in a property that I had listed. And I was just like, was that how I got them? No, actually, I don't remember if that's how I got them. But anyway, I got a couple from New York. I ended up helping them buy a new build. I helped them build something in Newmarket, and then I turned around and referred them to an agent in New York to sell their $1.2 million house. And they were super happy with me. And she comes from the medical field. So the next thing I know is she had said, well, the doctor that I work for is retiring, and him and his husband are moving here, and they're going to want you to help them. And my sister and her husband are going to move here from Texas, and they want you to help them. And our friends from New Jersey. And so it just domino. And I said, I didn't have to go to New York. New York came to me.
Yeah, perfect.
Because I put it out into the universe.
And there you are, the Leb City girl in your jeans and your flannel, packing a Kodiak dip. You're like, what do you want? How can I help you?
Gross.
You holding a Natty Light, screaming at Travis in the truck. Like it all works. All of it works. It's perfect.
Yeah.
So we barely have time. Like, I love that you've gotten us up to this moment. We still have to discuss the start of the team, what you guys are looking to do this year, and I obviously want to give you an opportunity to talk about your battle with cancer as well, because I think that's a remarkable story. Your hair used to be longer than you had boy band hair. Now we're back. Now you officially have the bob that says, "I would like to speak to your manager." Yep. You're 2 inches away from going out of that. Yes. But
don't call me Karen.
No.
So, okay, quick. I'll try to make it quick synopsis. I'm a talker, as you haven't figured that out. 2020.
Yeah.
In February of 2020, I found a lump in the shower and was like, that wasn't there yesterday. One of those sorts of things. So
Yeah,
I quickly followed up.
Full disclosure. Did you like notice it, or because I know there's a lot of women that are like, I never do this. Like, I go and see my doctor and I have my mammograms, but I never do this on a regular basis. Were you habitually checking because of conversations and stories and things around you, or did you trip over it?
So I totally tripped over it, and I mean, and again, full disclosure, I know we want to kind of keep this PG, but you know,
you already held up a mug with a swear word on it. It's fine. We can get.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, and I've been very open about this on my social media platforms, so
Sure.
that way other women aren't embarrassed or shamed, or know that they can come to me, which really has happened a lot. I've helped probably over 30 women now since my journey to help get through theirs.
Good.
So I was part of the itty bitty titty committee all my life and said, I don't need a mammogram. Like, I'm going to notice if something's there. Well, I never got a mammogram. And, and so when I was in the shower, bar of soap, was like, oh, that bump wasn't there. Like, where'd that come from? Literally followed up with the doctor, did the whole nine. And, I got actually yelled at from the doctor saying, you don't have a baseline to even, you've never had a mammogram. Like, I says, well, I did when I was younger because I thought I had something, because same thing, but it was like a lymph node. So, found out that it was cancer. I had already, at that point in time when the doctor called to tell me the results of my biopsy, I said to her, I go, yep, I already know it's cancer. And she's like, nobody's come right out and said that to me. She's like, you just, like, that was amazing. And I go, well, yeah, I already knew it was. Like, what else could it be? Number one. Number two, my husband's a butt man, so take them off. Like, I'm getting rid of both of them. Because she told me it was only found in one breast. It turned out it was actually, ironically, in both breasts, because the other side they thought was a calcium deposit.
Oh.
Which a week before my double mastectomy, they said, oh, for S&Gs, let's go ahead and do a biopsy of that too. So, okay, haven't been through enough torture yet. You might as well torture me some more.
Sure. Yeah. While we're here. Yeah.
Yeah, while we're here, let's go. And it turns out that was cancer too. So
wow.
I tell all the women, and men too, because men can get this, by the way.
Sure.
But I tell mostly the women who are dealing with it that always get a second opinion once they tell you that you have it, or if they tell you that you don't have it even. Always get a second opinion. You never know. But I'd already made the mental decision to get a double mastectomy. They said that, reconstruction is always, nowadays with technology, it's great. You can have all these options. So I did. So I had the double mastectomy in April of 2020, knowing I was going to have chemo coming up and not sure how I was going to be with chemo. You hear horror stories of how people get so sick and lose a bunch of weight. So I said, you know what? My future goal was to form a team, but I think maybe now's the time. And the reason being, because if I need help, I'm going to need somebody to help me with my clients or whatever it is. So I had reached out to a couple of ladies that I had been in communication with all throughout my career of, real estate. They would always reach out to me as like, hey, I got a quick question. And before I bug so-and-so with the question, whether it's Jen or Nate, can I run it off from you? Like, what are your thoughts? And so I've always been that go-to kind of person for people. And I say to them, if I don't have the answer, I can help you find the answer, because some people are embarrassed to even ask.
Yep.
So I'm okay with looking like an idiot. Like, bring it on.
That's what most of us do at a high level. Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm like, hey, a no question, no, if you don't ask the question to get an answer, like that's the problem. So get the answer regardless. So
I'd rather get the
I
answer from Nate than have to answer to Nate.
Exactly.
Print that shirt. Yes.
Yes, I will wear that. I will wear that. So I asked these two ladies to join my team. They said absolutely no hesitation. So I started the team right away in May of 2020. Just something small and intimate. It wasn't like anything major. But, we did our thing and it was great. And I started chemo in June of 2020, did that for the entire summer of 12 weeks of chemo as a hybrid chemo at that.
And you were like, didn't have any summer plans anyway. So here we go. Why not?
Yeah. I mean, I was on my boat.
Yep.
On my boat. And so I figured, you know what? I might as well have these girls help me if I need it. And
sure.
Fortunately, I didn't need it because I did really well with chemo. I knew I was going to lose my hair. So instead, with my long flowing locks, I decided to host a fundraiser for the My Breast Cancer Support Organization.
That's
and
awesome.
I cut my hair, donated it to a wig center, shaved my head live on Facebook in front of everybody, and donated over $5,000 to the My Cancer Support Organization,
That's
which was
awesome.
huge because they help women on the Seacoast that need financial assistance going through treatments. And because I didn't need the financial assistance, I wanted to pass it forward. They couldn't host any sort of fundraising efforts because of COVID, and they still can't at this point. So I'm still continuing to support these other women. I donated about $10,000 last year to them as well throughout my efforts of, buy a house with me. I sell a house, I donate $250.
Yeah.
So, so it was one of those things that I went through the summer, had my team, was fat and bald, had, all of that, but I was never sick. So I continued to work my tail off and, grow. And it's all about mindset. And I'm, like I said, I read a lot of books and do, power of positivity thinking, mindset. You just tell yourself and you tell the universe, this isn't gonna hurt me. And I tell everybody to this day, I was not given cancer to kill me. I was given cancer to educate me and to help others.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of a blessing. So moving forward a little bit more. So I had that surgery in April. I had a reconstruction September of 2020. November of 2020, I had ovary removal because it was a hormone aggressive, highly aggressive actually, driven cancer. So now I'm on hormone blockers that I have to take for 5 years total, which I've just completed my first year. So, early menopause. Woohoo! That's fun. So now I've got a even larger team.
Yeah.
Somehow it's blossomed into 10 of us now.
Yep.
So, and I love my team. My team is my family. We are there for everybody, with on the team. We support each other. We, do whatever we need to do to help the next person, get their deal done. And so.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing the entire story. You have to know, like, the next time we're at any live event, like if you go tubing and Travis comes, everybody's going to give him a look like, dude, you're out kicking your coverage, right? Why would you ever question your wife? Yeah. So what does Travis do for work?
A couple things. He's an auto mechanic. He owns his own business as a auto mechanic, auto diesel, whatever. And he's just within the past 3 years started his retirement job, as he calls it. He works at Pratt & Whitney and builds jet engines, and he's in the high security mods. So he's somebody who could build an engine with his eyes closed. He's very intelligent that way.
Awesome.
He's 6'5", 285. He's a big dude. I was a cheerleader. He was a football player, so you can kind of paint the picture. And you
realize everybody's at home rolling their eyes right now. Like, of course he was. Yes.
I know. It's
6'6", 222. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah. So his body's taken a beating now as a mechanic, being on concrete all the time and all of that. So that's why he started Pratt & Whitney, which again, I keep saying, everything happens for a reason. It was a blessing. He started Pratt & Whitney in November of 2019, and I found out I had cancer months later, which his medical insurance, hallelujah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, of course, nobody has seen this. It's, my magazine. This is this year's magazine that I produced.
That's awesome.
We talked about that real quick. It's funny because I always put people I know in it too.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a couple years ago, Jen Cartier was in it, Virginia Frost was in it as models.
Yep.
This year I've got my teammate Matt in it. Him and his wife got married in January, so their real wedding pictures are in it. So there's always people I know and people probably you know in it.
So I got to ask your daughter, how old is she now? And everything is good, or does she still have battles with, with that 4-year journey she had initially?
Yeah, so she had kidney reflux disease, which I was told afterwards with also a lot of research that 73% of girls are born with this.
Huh.
So it's something that basically the urethra tube isn't completely formed, and it causes, when they urinate, the bladder sends urine up as well as it sends it down. So it comes out, but some of it goes up to the kidney, and it causes urinary tract infections. Yeah. And, at 3 months old, babies can't tell you what's going on. So, of course, a lot of research. And then the seizures kind of went away at the age of 4 with being on Tylenol as a consistent, when kids start teething and they spike a fever, there you go. Because anytime she got a fever, she'd have a convulsion seizure, and that was scary in itself. But today, she's fully healed. She's doing great. She's 22. She's a small business owner herself because, hey, you got parents who are both small business owners.
And I trust at this point her mother is sending her for a mammogram every 12 months.
Yes.
Okay.
Actually, and that's one of those things that she's been highly educated on now at this point. And it's funny because she's an esthetician. She owns her own business in Dover doing skincare. And she actually, I tell her, talk openly to other women about this.
Yeah, you're sitting there. You're sitting there killing time. You might there was that story just most recently, and Brad will probably know the team off the back of his hand. There was a girl sitting behind the boards at a Seattle Kraken hockey game, and the equipment manager had a lump on his neck. She took a picture. She was in med school. She reached out to the team's Twitter account. He got it checked. It was cancerous. She saved his life.
Dang.
And speaking of real estate shows that we watch, the one with the couple out west, and now they've broken up and they're with other people, the blonde girl and
Christina and Tark.
Yeah. He got a phone call, or the studio got a phone call years ago. A viewer noticed something on his neck. Same thing. He went and got it checked. It was cancerous.
No kidding.
Same deal. So, to your point, for your daughter, while she's sitting there having these massive conversations with people, because you turn into a therapist, you might as well ask, when's the last time you went, right?
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
Does she run a higher proclivity for it because you had it? Is that a correlation there with mothers and daughters, or?
So, I did not carry the BRCA gene.
Okay.
And nobody in my family's ever had breast cancer. So the doctor said I was one of those medical mysteries. And as I said to you in the beginning, I've always been an overachiever, so what the heck? Might as well might as well get breast cancer too and have it be the worst ever. And but they said, always stay on top of it, always get checked. Not sure if what the gene is on my husband's side as far as that's concerned for her, but better be safe than sorry. Always, if we've got the technology nowadays to do it, do it. Get checked.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yep. Thank you so much for sharing. It's been a pleasure having you. As you said, you like to talk, but the blessing is you kept me from talking because everybody's tired. Kaylee's hashtag right now, and I think she's using it for passwords all over the company, is Tim still talking. So, yes.
Still talking.
More Carrie, less Tim, which is always good. Yes.
I know.
I found it amusing when she started. She asked if this was going to be a half an hour.
I know. I'm like, oh, she's got somewhere to go. I'm like, well, it's slated for an hour, but we can, when we're done, we're done. And I feel like we could have a lunch break and come back and do the second half.
We probably could, because we didn't talk about the goals and the GCI or anything.
Next, we definitely will have you back at some point for sure, and we appreciate you joining us today. Carrie, Alex and Associates. If you need help anywhere in and around Leb City, she's your girl. And when you see Travis, tell him he outkicked his coverage, which I'm sure he'll appreciate.
Sunday I'm going to make him stay home.
He's going to be fine. Brad Kelly and his entire team at AnnieMac Home Mortgage. If you need their help, it is 603-396-3198. There's no more home games for you, Bradley, so you will be available for pre-approvals all weekend long. Although the numbers may vary because he might be lubricating while he's watching the game.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Who knows? who knows? Like I said, I've been beerless this month so far, thanks to COVID.
Oh, right.
So
You're going to do dry
see.
URA. Well,
See.
I'm going to throw out the opportunity too. If anybody's been paying attention, one of the big stories in sports right now is that the tickets at Buffalo are hyper cheap.
Yeah.
Like there's seats in the stadium down close for like $1.30. And
I was listening today to the radio. They were saying $85 you can sit in the lower bowl.
Unbelievable. But yeah, it's 2 degrees out. And then if you're going to actually not drive and fly, the flights are still not great. But anyway. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. And everybody have a great weekend. And again, if you need Brad and his team, 603-398-3190 or 396-3198. I apologize. The number's everywhere, Brad. If you need Brad's number, go in the men's room or the ladies' room. It's everywhere. See you guys. Have a great weekend. Bye.